Welcome to, I think it's episode 30 of the Kadence Beat. Hannah, let's call it 30. What do you think?
Sometimes that's what I do with my age. I'm like, I think I'm 30. But you like, when you get to this point, you're like, I'm not really sure. I think I'm 30. So this episode is probably 30-ish.
Can I say I'm 32? I had my child when I was 8. But yeah, I'm going to go with 32. We're all 30. This is the episode, the anti-aging episode where we're all 30 or less.
30 and flirty and thriving. We're here for it.
I love it. I love it. So we're going to start a new segment called Adventures with Hannah, because Hannah, not only have you run like the Boston Marathon and you had a personal record at the marathon?
Yes.
What
like
happened
20
there?
seconds, if you want to count that.
20 seconds counts. Like, how was that? I don't think we've talked about the marathon. I think before it happened, we like foreshadowing and all of that. But how was it for you?
It was an experience for sure. Some people are like, I want to run the Boston Marathon a million times. And there's like science people who are like, this person, 53rd Boston Marathon. And I have friends who are already training for next year. I feel like it was great and I don't never need to do it again. But it is an experience. There are, I think they said 500,000 people take off work just to come and cheer you on. Oh. Maybe it's actually way more than that. It's insane. There's the whole entire time you're running, there's hundreds and hundreds of people just cheering for you. And yeah, it's a really wild time. But yeah.
And
it's like a different kind of fun. I'd be like, it was fun, but also it was really hard. But it was fun.
Your family came up and cheered you on. Your mom was there?
Yes, my mom and little brother were there, and my boyfriend. And then my cousins live just outside of Boston, so they came in, which was super fun. And I had 2 other friends who were running it as well. Actually, 3 other friends. It was fun to be out there with them. Although I did not see them the entire day because there was so many people, but I knew they were there.
That's so cool. And since then, you've been taking it easy, I hear. That's sarcastic. Like, what else have you've been doing? Like, you just don't stop. That's why we have Adventures with Hannah here, because
it's not something to be proud of. I need to learn how to slow down, truly. I have run less, but I did run a half marathon a couple weeks ago, and it was fine. My body's taking a long time to recover. So anyway, Ben was making fun of me because I ran a half marathon and then 2 days later went and climbed Mount Adams. And like I said, I'm not proud of it. It was very hard. And I hit many low moments. One was we were snowboarding down Mount Adams and I had a split board and I couldn't get it to turn. And so I was laying upside down in this like tree and there maybe were tears. And I was like, yeah, this was too much. This was too much. But it was wild and fun. We skied 6 miles from the summit, which was crazy.
Wow. That's amazing.
Awesome.
And
so on that particular trip, I had dropped her off at some 3:30 in the morning at an airport to be like, hey, so tomorrow you're running a marathon and the next 2 days later you're climbing the mountain. So those 2 events are wrapped up in all of her travel and work and catching babies and everything else.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and how many babies have you been catching? Yeah, that's a lot. But hey, that's what life is all about, is having fun and adventures and doing things and pushing yourself because if you're not growing, you're in a comfort zone, and comfort zones kill, or so I've been told.
Yeah, this fascinating thing I heard on a podcast about a neuroscientist was getting interviewed, and he said that he studied why people feel like time slows down when something bad is going to happen, like they're in a car wreck and everything seems to slow down. And he said it's not actually that they're experiencing time slow down, like time's happening just as fast as it always is. It's that their memories are so rich in that moment because they're like, it's a new experience. It's experience of your brain is, I need to remember everything because this is really scary or this is really intense. And so your brain captures a whole lot more data than it usually does. Usually your brain's don't need to remember that, don't need to remember that. And so he said, if you want to feel like you're living longer or like having fuller years, if you will, have more new experiences. because then your brain will take in more information and you will feel like time is not going as fast because you're capturing more data. And so when you think about it later on, you'll feel like it's slowed down for you, versus if you're not doing anything fun or interesting or new, you will look back and go, man, that last month was like a blur. And it's because your brain is like, there's nothing to remember here. So just move along.
That's interesting.
I thought it was fascinating. Anyway.
Interesting. Yeah. So going for those peak experiences.
And just new experiences too, like pushing yourself to do something new. And the novelty of it allows your brain remembers more, and thus you feel like you've lived more.
Yeah, interesting. So there's this author that I worked with. He wrote this book called The Book of EST. And the EST trainings were these things that happened in like the 70s. What's this guy's name? Werner Erhart, I think. But these EST trainings. So if you have a headache and the headache is just persisting, his thing was feel the headache, like fully feel it, be with the headache, and then it goes away. Because it's like we go through these experiences in our lives and like things that we don't want to deal with. We just, I don't want to deal with the taxes and the headaches and all of these things. But if you like are fully present with an experience, then you have like more control over it. And so the thing that stuck with me with all of this was that if you have a headache, be fully present, be like in the experience of having the headache, and then the headache goes away. So a weird thing about like peak experiences, and that peak experiences can happen like you don't have to climb a mountain to have a peak experience. You could have a peak experience listening to this podcast with us.
Yeah.
Come on.
And that segues into my segment, which I'm going to call Figuring Out How to Be Productive with Ben or something like that. I'm constantly trying new ways to be more productive in terms of like how to organize my thoughts and life, and this tool, that tool. If you have a note-taking app, I've probably tried it. I've tried just about every single productivity app, and I'm always trying new ones. And one of the main things, and how this relates to that, is the idea of trying to capture things when it comes to mind, to allow your mind the space to like, okay, it's written down somewhere, let it go. And that allows you to, instead of like constantly shoving, oh, I need to remember that, oh, I need to remember that, or remember that, and then you have this big shadow of things that you need to remember, and you're constantly living under a pressure of what am I forgetting? What did I need to remember that I didn't remember, or what important thing? And so I've been really focusing on like capture, like how do I capture things that I need to do, thoughts, ideas, whatever, so I can just free up that brain space. And I've tried a lot of apps, but right now the app I really like is TickTick. And the reason I like it, I like Waitlist as well for capturing quick thoughts. I put everything into the inbox. TickTick, Todoist are very similar. The big difference with Tick is it syncs with your calendar better, and I can drop things in for time boxing, which I like to do. So I can look at my calendar and say, today I want to move this and this into the day, and that's when I get done, and I feel a lot better about life if I do that. But the main thing is to capture inside of a to-do list app. And if you capture an inbox, and then whenever you have a minute, you sort it and you put it in where it needs to go. So if it's like, I need to remember to buy a gift, then like I put that in my to-do list. And so I have an inbox, and then I have a to-do list. And then in my to-do list, I can mark things as by this time, or I actually don't need to do that till tomorrow. If it's a calendar thing, like an event, stick it in the calendar. If I need to write an email or whatever, like it's sorting that inbox later. But the main thing is like capture, and TickTick is a great app for that. So there you go. There's my productivity app I'm currently playing around with.
Interesting. Have you ever heard of this thing called building a second brain?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do.
Ben's been trying to do that his whole life.
I practice a lot of those things. I wouldn't say I have arrived. I haven't actually read there. So it comes from a book from a person. I've watched like videos and listened to podcasts about it. I haven't read the book. But yes, that concept of how do I organize things in a sense in a second brain. And so I definitely do that. I use some apps and things to try to organize like a lot of stuff in a way that is like that. But in all of that, like the most practical thing is still capture and organize on the front end versus they go into a lot of structure for how you want to keep stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay.
I find all the productivity things fascinating. And like Atomic Habits is probably one of my all-time favorite book reads. It's like a yearly read.
Nice. Yeah. So the building a second brain thing keeps coming up in weird. So I've opened tabs and then I do a tab nuke at the end of the week where it's just, we'll try again next week. Like all these interesting things I want to get into. And it's just, I don't have enough me, but that keeps popping up and going away. So I was wondering if you are into that.
Yeah. There's a lot of cool things you can do to try to organize it. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not that far along into where I would say like confidently, oh yes, like I have a second brain. I have a good system right now using Notion and things like that for how I do stuff. And TickTick is like the main daily interface thing.
Okay. I'll have to open a tab. See if it survives the week. We'll see. Interesting. Very cool. I guess my segment is crazy things I'm going to try. Things show up in my world and I try crazy things. And I sometimes spend money on crazy things because it's okay. My life is limited right now. I have to encourage a stroke patient to do hard things. And so I think because I'm always like, I sound like Tony Robbins, like in this motivational, you can do this motivational stuff. So maybe it's like affecting me where I'm just like, I'm going to try a thing. I joined a newsletter writing cohort. It's a class and it's part of a group called Small Bets. And the guy that started it, he worked for Amazon and he started the Small Bets thing. And it's just like people who are starting small entrepreneurial types of experiments, not like this big bet, but like a small bet to see experiments. And I'm like, ooh, this sounds fun and interesting. There are so many interesting people in this group and they all talk about their ideas. And I'm really into that. That like, I could just sit and watch what other people are doing and be very excited about it. But I'm like, newsletters, I write, I can do this. I'm going to be great at it. And I have been humbled because there's so many really good writers as a part of this who are really successful with doing Substack newsletters. They're getting paid money to write. And I've thrown a couple of articles in there and nobody's like tearing me down, but I get so much good feedback. And I think I really have missed like collaborative writing experiences. And so I'm having that now. And I feel empowered and uplifted and I want to just write all of the things now. So it's been really exciting. One of the first things I wrote about was one of the things I wanted to talk to you guys about because I was coming home from a trip and I'm not driving to DFW airport ever again after WordCamp Phoenix. Never again will I drive to that airport. It's terrible. It's a terrible airport.
Should we dare ask?
Yeah.
It is the worst organized airport in the entire world. So I figure, okay, I'm flying American. I can just park in Terminal C. And when I come home, my car will be right there. So I'm going to pay extra for that privilege. And they dump me off in like Terminal D. And I've got to take a train at 12:30 in the morning to try to find my car. I didn't get home until 2 o'clock in the morning. It was never again will I drive there. And then I got charged $80 for the privilege of it. And I was just like, never again. I will pay someone. So I got this Lyft driver as I'm coming home from this trip. And it was pretty early in the morning. And I'm like, so do you drive Lyft full time? No, I just quit my job and I just started a business. And I've got 130,000 followers on TikTok and I draw anime. And I'm like, interesting. Tell me more. And this guy was really fascinating. We're now Instagram friends, like good friends and everything. We're talking about like different strategies with this business. And I'm like, how are you monetizing this? And I'm selling art on my website. Do tell. I'm hoping for a WordPress story here. I'm really hoping for a WordPress story. Oh, I've got a Wix site. And I'm just like, no, tell me more. Why did you choose Wix? And I see ads for it everywhere. And it just seemed that it's easy. It's so easy. It was so easy to set up. And so I go on TikTok and I do live streams and he draws his art and people go to his site and they buy his art. he has quit his full-time job and is supporting a wife and baby who his wife doesn't work. She's at home with the baby, which I just love. And he is also going to like conventions and selling his art, but he's selling it on Wix. And I'm listening to him tell me all of these stories of how well it's going and how he's growing his audience. And I can't find my little in on WordPress and Kadence. And I can't even talk about Shop Kit. What? My life is ending. What do I do? So then we start talking about like, how is he building his email list? And I got my in there and we ended up like sharing like ideas, but he helped me think about TikTok differently. I helped him think about an email list differently. And it was a very productive conversation, but it's haunted me, you guys. It's haunted me that he is on Wix and finding success. Is
That's
WordPress doomed? It's still haunted. That's the first article I wrote for this newsletter cohort is like why people should be on WordPress, and Wix isn't going to be supporting him forever. And like, but he's fine on Wix. I can't tell him to get off Wix. He needs to build his audience and build his business and build his list. And that's more important than him being on WordPress right now. And I felt terrible about it because I know long-term, open source, own your platform, all of the things that we normally talk about. But at the same time, he is successfully building a business on Wix. And I know a lot of people are building successful businesses on Shopify, and Squarespace is helpful for a lot of people, and Webflow. And I'm seeing now people talking about Canva and how it's a great platform for building a website. Where is WordPress going to be in the future?
Yeah, I think I wanted to ask this. Do they give you a prompt, or you just write any newsletter and you give it to them? Like, they don't give you any in your writing group. It's just whatever you want.
It's whatever you want, but they are definitely talking about like, where is your expertise? So they want all of us to basically assert your expertise and assert why someone should listen to you. And they gave a bunch of examples of different people who, one guy worked at Microsoft and he had the perfect frame of, I helped close billions of deals with these Excel tips and tricks. And I'm like, I'm sold billions of deals with Excel. I want to know more. And so like, they're showing you like, what are these like little hooks that you can interest people in your newsletter with your expertise and your experience, which is what Google's telling us they want from us anyway. Yeah. So I'm seeing all of these different people, and then they come to me and I'm like, I'm talking about security, aren't I? I've cleaned over 2,000 WordPress sites. I'm like, all right, I can talk about this. It's boring to me now. But anyway, I have to talk a little bit about my expertise. That's what they're like, trying to pull up people to be personable, to be interesting, and to share your expertise. And they have these formulas for doing it. And it's been very fascinating, but it's also been challenging because I don't know. But there are some people who have really interesting experiences. And that's what I'm enjoying more, is like being able to contribute, because you have to submit to your newsletter. And then the guys who are teaching the course will give you feedback and tell you how to make it better. And they've made my writing better. But then you have to also contribute to other people's newsletters and what's working for you with what they're writing and what's not working. So that experience is not only helping me be a better writer, it's helping me think about communicating to audiences better. And it's been just, see, this is why I'm in marketing, because this is fun for me. This is what I'm doing on my Monday and Thursday nights, because it's like, all right, everybody's fed. Now I get to play.
Yeah.
I'm not climbing a mountain. I'm writing cohort newsletters.
I love it.
Yeah. But I think like that whole thing is so crucial for anyone in our audience to hear. Get into something where you're being challenged and pushed to like better tune your skills, and also open up your eyes to see all the directions that, if you're feeling a burnout of my job isn't very interesting, some of it is just because you're not feeding like the curiosity part of it and the like, what's happening, what are other people doing, what challenges can I put in front of me. So if you're in, like, I love that idea for like someone who's doing web design, go and find a group that will critique and force you to put out products or projects and all of that stuff. Or if you're doing anything like that, I think that's like such a cool way to interact with people and get feedback. And So I think that's awesome. And then like to your point of, okay, what about WordPress and where does this all fit? I think that's like part of it too, is like, you just got to get in the game with your ideas and not focus too much on platform, especially if you're starting out. And Wix is, we can poo-poo it. Like, it's obviously a successful brand and a lot of people are building really good things on it. And I've tried like Wix and Squarespace, and there's some like Squarespace's fluid grid builder is super cool. And Shopify, like one of the big benefits to Shopify right now is honestly the shop app and the ability to capture your audience through payment is such a fascinating tool that they have that is only for Shopify. And so there's a lot of reasons to join different platforms. And it's not like we're here to say WordPress is the best for everybody. I think there are some really good reasons to choose WordPress, even to choose it if you're starting out. But I think what's more important is to start somewhere and get it, test out your ideas. And so for that point, like the Wix, like lets you spin up a site. Squarespace lets you spin up a site without paying anything. You can start to test your ideas, see if this is going to come into a web page and make sense, or if you want to test your writing skills. And Subflow is a super simple like way to go, do I have something? Is this something that could be monetized? In which case, maybe I'll invest some time into creating and owning my own system in WordPress.
Yeah.
Love that. Yeah, it's definitely a great place to get started. But then with any walled garden like that, you're going to bump into the wall. You're going to bump into the limitations of the system at some point or another.
Or just get tired of paying the fees. Sure. That's really what like Shopify and a lot of those, you just start paying a lot of money. Square's online store is very expensive. And once you do a comparison, and again, it's just about getting in and trying things. But Medium is another good spot. What are other platforms that are like, okay, I want to try out, I think I might try writing, blogging, but I don't want to go through the trouble of building a site. Medium, it's probably the best place to go do a one-off article, see if you get traction.
I love their editing experience on Medium. It's sublime. I think it's what WordPress and Gutenberg has tried to be, but Medium they've had it for so many years where it's just like your browser is Word. It's a doc, and it's so much more than a doc, and it's so clean. I've loved how Medium's. See, this is my problem, is I have all of these things, but then it's just like when iThemes, the vulnerability report, I always look over it. And it's like, oh, look at this vulnerability. And then later they're like, have you gotten done looking at that? I'm just like, I proof of concept this. I get lost in the technology and all of the tools. Newsletters, like I'm doing mine on ConvertKit because I love ConvertKit, but there's Substack, there's Beehive, which has got a great experience. And I'm just like, stop trying, because I get like really distracted with wanting to play with all of the toys and the technology and the tools. And I need to be more like my Lyft driver and just publish, just do it.
I'm not that way at all. I'm like, somebody tell me the easiest way to do this. Tell me that you've already researched it, and I will just trust you. So I would be the person that if I saw an ad that was like, here's the easiest way to build your website, and I like wasn't in WordPress already, I'd be like, sick, I'll do that. How do we convince people that they should be in WordPress? Like Kathy, if that Lyft driver would have been like, so what do you like? Do you think I should be in WordPress, and why? Or like, what would your argument be had that door been open for you to like push WordPress and therefore push Kadence?
Yeah. You know me, if I'm in the back of a car, I'm going to talk about WordPress and Kadence.
Say your drive was a little bit longer. How long would it take you for you to like...
I honestly, just hearing where he was in terms of like how his business was growing. He had just quit his job like 4 months ago, wife and baby at home. And I'm like, build your audience and get your email list. Like that to me felt like the greatest thing for him to do, is to start establishing connections and building his community around his work. Because we've seen like how important community is in marketing. If you don't have a community of people who are fans, like core fans, end up being your marketing army that builds that audience, the people that they're talking to. And that's worked really well with a lot of different brands. So I wanted that for him before own your platform. I couldn't get there with him because that was so far off into the future of just once he's in liftoff mode right now. So he just needs to really focus. And then I did talk to him a little bit about owning your platform and how there's more flexibility. You can do more stuff and have like memberships and you could do anything with WordPress. There's a plugin for that. So I gave him that whole spiel, but I ddidn't want to focus on that and like have him like question, maybe I should change all of my focus and learn PHP. Yep. No, dude, you're doing everything right. You're doing so great.
Yeah. It is such, even if you're in WordPress, it's hard to not get distracted by all the things. Should I be using this product? There's a lot to be distracted by. And sometimes you just need to be focused on how do I make this work and make money now and start to grow, and then I can strategize. But you got to get it out there and you got to see if it's going to work. Yeah. And there's pros to WordPress in that like the platform itself is free and there's a lot of free tools, a whole lot of free tools. So your semi-average hosting is what you're going to be your monthly cost. And that's not that high compared to what you're going to pay in other places, to owning and being able to grow all of the things that you need to do. But I've definitely, like, when I was doing freelance, I definitely ran into people being like, I want a website and I wanted to do this. And then I wanted to do this. And then I also wanted to do this. And I was like, and then 5 more things they wanted it to do. And I was like, no one even knows about your website. There's no way you're going to get these 10 things off the ground and working. Try to find the best thing that you want it to do and see if you can do that before you try to become like a competitor to Facebook, essentially. Yeah. Like, just figure out what you're like. Do you have an audience in one area, and then like you can start growing? And WordPress is so great because you can grow in the platform, whereas having to switch is tricky and time consuming, and there's all the risks involved with it. But in the end, like if someone came to me and was like, I need a simple website to sell this thing, and I saw an ad for Wix and I get it, I'd be like, okay, like you're going to hit a point where you're going to want to leave. But if it's working for you in this moment, I'm not going to be like, job number 1, leave. It's going to be like, yeah, you should probably think about this down the road. But right now you need to think about, is this going to be viable where I can support a family and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I think because so many of us work in WordPress, it's okay, that's our de facto tool. It's what we're going to go towards. But really, people need to choose the tool that's going to vibe right with them, that's going to allow them really to focus on making those connections between business and customer and grow that, rather than you have to pick the tool that's going to work for you now. And if it doesn't work for you in the future, you can always change. But all of the tools, there's no right email tool, there's no right website creation tool. It's what tool is going to help you make the connection to a customer now, make customers, and to grow that and scale that into a place where you can quit your job and you don't have to drive Lyft anymore. And you can really focus on doing the thing that brings you joy in I love talking to people like that. And I think that's one of the things I love so much about WordPress is you go to these WordCamps or you talk to people in the Kadence Facebook group, and it's somebody who's bringing their dream to life. And I just want that. If it's not WordPress, okay for now. But I am so empowered by seeing people find their passion and bringing it to the web and bringing it to their heart, really, because I could just see it and hear it in his voice that he is so proud of himself that, first of all, he's paying for everything so his wife can stay home with their baby, but also doing something that he loves while he's doing that. What more can he ask for?
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons I am excited about Kadence, is because so many people coming into the Facebook group who are just getting started with Kadence, getting started with their dream and bringing it, and WordPress is able to do that for them and set them up for a long-term success. So thank you for letting me play with all of this stuff. I have so much fun with it.
I love it. And I have so fun watching Kathy do it.
Have fun watching Hannah do it, and Ben. Like this team is so amazing, and it's been fun getting to know everybody on the team, right? Because there's so many people that who watch us on YouTube or listen to the podcast wherever, but there's so many people that you're not hearing about who are part of the Kadence team that are innovative, bright, and really passionate about what they're doing too. And so I just want to shout out everybody on our team because it's a pretty cool team, don't you think?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have such a cool team. Everyone's so fun. We should do a podcast where everybody comes on. That'd be wild.
That would be wild. Yeah.
It'd be so fun. I'm sure some people would be like, can I keep my camera off for this? Like, can I just hide? Because not everybody going to want to put themselves out there as much as us. But remember episode 1, you guys? Episode 1 was scary, but now look at us. We're like, what'd I tell you? Yeah.
If you say so.
Now we're 30 and flirty and thriving.
We are 30 and flirty. Any final notes? Anything? I know I'm not even going to ask you, Ben, about what's coming with Kadence. Lots of stuff in the works, but we're not even going to talk about it because it's so close. And I don't want to put pressure on you.
Yeah, we are working very hard. That's as good of an update as I can give. We're working very hard.
Amazing. Can't wait to tell the news of launches. We'll leave it at that.
Yep.
All right. With that, we will wrap up. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe if you haven't done that. I think I have to say that in every episode. And we will see you next time on the Kadence Beat.